Imagine this scenario. We spent the last 4 weeks working on a presentation, gathering research, gathering data, and gathering images, when suddenly your computer crashes the day before it's due. Your job is on the line, but luckily you've uploaded all of your research and your presentation to the cloud via Google Drive, and you can access it directly from the computer at work. Many of us simply state that we upload our files to the cloud, but what is the cloud? I'm an IT major, and I've spent a lot of time in the cloud, like you have, writing documents, making presentations, and Excel sheets. And I can do this just by navigating to Google, and those applications are right there in that little icon at the top. The cloud is a global network of remote servers that all work together to serve services or host services publicly through the internet. So you don't have to download anything. You just go on there and you can access it directly from your browser. So today I'd like to define what the cloud is and how these remote servers are used to host these services and how they're hosted. So let's first explain exactly what a remote server is. A remote server is a server that exists somewhere else, usually somewhere far away in a big data center, and it stores and computes data and serves that data to the public over the internet. Now, these servers are accessible anywhere, and on top of that, they are extremely fast, and they can perform computations very fast and simultaneously all at the same time. And some examples of software that exists on these servers would be things like Google Drive, Google Docs, Microsoft OneDrive, and many, many other services that companies and users use all the time. Now, these servers oftentimes all work together and talk to each other to create or compute very complex tasks and offer complex services. This is called distributed computing. So we know that these remote servers are all used to complete or compute complex tasks and offer services. Now let's look at what kind of servers or services these servers can offer. So one of the first services, as you can see from an article by Joy in 2022, one of the first kinds of services that's offered is software as a service, or SaaS. So SaaS provides an application or software over the internet. So this can be in the form of Google Drive, again, or Google Docs. And basically, you're just accessing a piece of software, an application, without installing it. You can just go on your browser and you can use that software. And this oftentimes provides real-time collaboration. For example, many of you have probably used Google Docs to write in a paper, and you were able to actually write that paper with somebody else in real time and see what they're writing on that paper. Now, the next service is platform as a service. This is where you basically rent an entire operating system. You connect to a Windows desktop, for example, or a Linux desktop, or a Mac desktop. These platforms are usually tailored specifically and configured to create consistent platforms for developers to use. For example, if a company is developing software, they're going to want to make sure that all of their employees are on the same consistent platforms so that they can basically all be working on that same platform, and basically it makes it so that they can ensure that everything works together the way it should. And finally, the last kind of service is infrastructure as service. So this is where you actually provide physical devices such as an actual machine, such as a computer, or even networking infrastructure. You can actually rent out a router, like a home router, a wireless router, or a firewall that can protect your network. And basically, you're just routing all of your network through that cloud device and then back to your home or organization. So that's a pretty fancy, definitely complicated use of the cloud. So now that we know how the remote servers work together to offer these services, let's see how these services are actually hosted and the different kind of ways they're hosted. So the first way is through the public cloud. So this is what many people are commonly used to, where the You just go onto a public website and you can access applications just as anybody else can, such as Google Drive and Google Docs. Some of these are free, and some of these will require a subscription. These are offered by some of the major cloud providers such as Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Provider, and Microsoft Azure. The second kind of way that services are hosted are privately. This is when an organization actually rents out services from the cloud and uses it only inside of their organization. Uh, and that allows more control and more security over their data. Finally, a hybrid cloud uses both of these, where the company might rent some private host services and then offer some public services. So the cloud is a large, complex network of remote servers, all hosting server softwares in platforms and infrastructure, and can be accessed publicly, privately, or using a combination of both. In summary, in conclusion, the cloud can provide services over the internet publicly, privately, or in a combination of both, and they can be used to back up your files and basically have more accessibility over these applications and services. So next time you need to share a file or collaborate, just know that you can use the cloud to do all those things.